A lot of NFT projects, communities have died or they're struggling to engage their community. Well, I found 3 NFT projects that are doing amazingly well during the bear markets. So let's take a look at these 3 killer NFT projects and see what they're up to. And hopefully you'll take away some key learnings for your own NFT projects or your own communities in general. All right, so first up we have this NFT collection called the Possess. You can tell that the branding is super unique as soon as you take a look at their website, and it's definitely invoking curiosity. Take a look at Outbreak Imminent here. When I was looking through the text, what's interesting is you've got some really unique branding here. It's got NFT here instead of like the usual trademark look. Here you can see that it says an innovative new NFT developed by labs to enhance your creativity. So that already evokes curiosity. It's just really interesting that instead of saying minting, starting, or anything around those usual words that we see with NFT projects, we're actually seeing Outbreak started on June 30th, which I guess is when they launched the collection. So as I've mentioned in several of my NFT videos in the past, I've talked about branding and how important branding is and just really creating your own unique spin. So I think Possessed has done that, and they keep repeating key words and the value adds that their NFT project will provide their members. So reawaken your creativity. Clearly, this NFT project centers around creativity. In terms of their website, it's very clean. They've doxed themselves. Again, this is important, and I've talked about the importance of doxing the team to make sure that people can trust who is behind the project. The FAQs are very clearly laid out as well, so that's great for people that are learning a bit more about this project and seeing whether they want to get involved. To be honest, I really think that the NFTs themselves look interesting. The fact that they're dynamic, they're moving, it just seems to me like the project has this element of creativity. Their project is on brand through and through. All right, so now let's take a look at their Discord server, which is typically where you would start if you're a new member and you're looking to learn more about the project. So I can see here that they have the typical server rules. Again, they're very clear. I like these. And let's go ahead and submit and take a look at the Discord. So what I think is really interesting first up is they've actually created their own version of Capture, and it's way more on brand to their project. So what they've done is they've created this emergency broadcast video, and you have to actually listen to the video to confirm what the password is. And then with that password, you can enter it into the prompt there, and you can see there that I have to enter the password to actually get full access to the Discord. Now, I actually really like this because you're forcing new members to already put in some effort to get in. So I think to be able to get into the server, just creating that little barrier to entry means that people are going to be more invested right from the start. Now, another really interesting aspect that they've created is this idea of a permit desk. And again, everything seems really on brand. This is stuff that I don't see in other NFT Discords, for instance. But permit disk is the place where you're allowed to enter the lab under supervision for a duration of 50 minutes. And this is where you have to actually schedule a time to get access to the lab. And by doing so, you'll be able to get more insights into the project. I think this is really unique. I hadn't seen an NFT project do this before, so I really like this. And yeah, it's again, the creativity is coming through straight from the beginning. This is the onboarding process, and already it's completely different to a lot of other NFT projects. When I looked through further information around their project, it was very clear to me that utility is there right from the start for their members. So they actually had several NFTs that were dropped. They've had tokens that are dropped, and the tokens can be used in the future. When I look at the number of channels, there is a high number of channels, and I have spoken recently about how I'd like to see this revert to a simpler look. So you can see here, they have, for instance, the boiler room, they have the lab, they have the security department, although I think the security department is great because it's very important to make sure that your members are safe and that they're not going to be scammed. So I actually like their security department section where they've got announcements and scam reports, I think is great. But yeah, there is a lot of other channels here, which if you're not fully invested in the project, it could be quite overwhelming. But then again, the fact that they've created this permit desk section where you actually have to schedule time to go through it more, I think it's just well done in that regard. So the onboarding is so strong that I am actually willing to overlook the fact that they've got so many channels, because you're already going to get community members that are more invested right from the start. Now, that utility I was talking about, people actually received 2 NFTs in one. That was like one of the first few pieces of information that I noticed around utility. People liked the fact that they were receiving not only the animated NFT, but they're getting 2 additional NFTs, the normal and the possessed. But I do question whether you need a general haul. Just taking a look, it does seem like it's pretty busy, so that's a good sign. But overall, you can see that there's clearly things that only if you're within the community you would understand. And I think that's a sign of a strong community, because clearly there's people that are invested in this project. They clearly are following the rules and everything that's happening with this project. They're creating ID cards, for instance. I can tell just by looking through this Discord that there are engaged members in the project and that it is doing really well. I actually love the fact that they have these different doctors' offices. So they've created personas and they have these different channels just for the different doctors. I think that's just really unique again. Now, I'm not recommending that you go and copy exactly what the Possessed have done here, but just take away that there's creativity and it's different. So what are you doing that's different? And what are you doing that meets the main purpose of your project? So here with Possessed, we've seen how important creativity is. So they have a channel here called the Creative Zone under the Creativity Lab section. And that's important because that's part of their project's purpose, to increase your creativity. Again, just being true to your purpose and completely organizing your Discord servers and your website and everything that you're doing around the purpose is truly important. All right, next we have God Hates NFTees Club. Now, this project is along the lines of you can't beat them, join them. They've truly understood that people in Web3 have been facing a lot of kickbacks from the broader community. This project actually capitalizes on this, and their tone is very on point with what the Web3 community are facing right now. There's tons of personality in this project, and it really deep dives into the humor of Web3. So let's take a look at their website. Okay, wow, this is really different as a website. It's completely opposite to most NFT project websites, if I'm honest. And they start with a story, and I think storytelling is really important in NFT projects especially, but also in all communities. So they start with, can you imagine a tasty 67-year-old creating an NFT community managed through a DAO, and in which one of the requirements to be is to have a 4chan spirit. So I think that's, again, we're talking about weaving through the Web3 community, understanding what these people are interested in. So they're interested in obviously the DAOs, for instance. 4chan is a very popular platform that, you know, all people in Web3 would know about. And I think it's just really interesting that they start off with, like, can you imagine this world? And it's a little bit crazy. And they introduce themselves, Mr. Peters, welcome to the project. They obviously say it's a collection, so we know how many NFTs are in existence, but it's just for the culture. And I think that throughout this project, we see how true to the culture they are throughout the onboarding process, throughout how they've actually structured their NFT and their DAOs. So I think that's really interesting. Now, they did have a free mint, but what I think is also interesting to note is that their access to the Discord is more difficult. So they made it easy for people that were in the know to get an NFT, but to get access to their private community, it's more difficult. I think that's just really interesting. It's already invoking curiosity, and I'm willing to read on to learn more. They trash the roadmap, which I think is, again, what a lot of people in Web3 are thinking about. It's easy to actually say, oh, we're going to be doing X, Y, Z in the roadmap, but really, is that really the case? Are you able to execute? And so, yeah, the roadmap right at the beginning is just hearsay, really. And there's so many projects in the NFT space that have created these amazing roadmaps, and then they haven't actually gone ahead and executed on that. And look at this, they've actually mentioned this: when you're not going to comply with it, the roadmap is useless. So why overpromise when we get up every day, set ourselves a community goal, and carry it out as we want? So I think they're being very honest. Their voice is very authentic. And I think that would truly resonate with a lot of people that have been in the Web3 space for a long time, and they're looking for something that is fresh like this. And the way that they say that you can find the roadmap is when you beat this game, which is actually the same as when you have no internet and you have the dinosaur game. So I think that's really clever that they've created the same game, and it's just a bit of fun on their webpage. What it also shows to me is that this team can execute. They've obviously modified the dinosaur game on Google. They're very vocal that they hate this run-of-the-mill average project. They think it's tacky, and they want to actually entertain, build, and enjoy. So it's very clear to me the type of people that would want to be a part of this community, and I think that their website is very simple. I love the fact that when I click on their menu, they say, what the hell are you looking for in the menu? What do you expect to find? It's just very funny. The whole website has personality. And then when I go to their Discord, they again have this branding around God Hates NFTees, and they've got this 100 ETH. They've got this symbol that's very, very similar to the Bored Ape Yacht Club, if I'm honest. That's what I'm seeing when I see this. But yeah, as soon as I join the Discord, I'm already thinking this is going to be interesting. Now, I must be honest, when I did join the Discord, I actually found this rather overwhelming, and I think this is a good opportunity to discuss with you like what creates a good Discord experience and what feels overwhelming. Now, you've got to remember that a lot of people are coming into your project very new, very fresh. They have no idea what the history of the project is, and they are just trying to really understand what is going on, whether the community is the right place for them. So from the website, I already thought, even as myself, as someone that's been in Web3, I've seen a lot of average projects over time. I've seen a lot of the scams. I've seen, a lot in Web3. And I think anybody that's been in the Web3 space for a while also feels that way. I think the website really resonates. But when I come into the Discord, I must admit, I'm seeing all these different collections and websites, and it took me a while to really understand, all right, what's going on here? Who is the Ape Hater Club, for instance? Because I've just joined the God Hates NFTees Club, and I can see that they've also got several OpenSea collections. Now, it did take me some work, and look, there's good and bad to that. If you've got people already seriously invested through very strong website branding, through very strong Twitter spaces, for instance, and other events and other relationships that you're building in the Web3 space, then you can get away with having a Discord that is a little bit more overwhelming because people are feeling more invested. But if you're a new member, there are ways to just improve the onboarding experience. They could have a section just on their history. I would have loved to see, I thought they did their story so well on their website. I would love to see the story of God Hates NFTees and just weave in the Ape Hater Club, the God Hates NFTees, the Senior Bananos, like just weave it all in for me so that I can just get a really quick update and rundown really as to what's been going on with this project. I do think it's really interesting that they have an email address here. That's quite rare for me to see in the official links. And that just opens up the communication between members and the team. So I actually think that's a great thing. we're so sick of DMs, and we have to avoid DMs, to be honest, on Discord, because there's just a lot of scamming going on. So I would feel safer communicating via email. Obviously, I wouldn't be clicking on any links, but it's just a different way to communicate. It's a little bit old school, I guess, using email, but at the same time, it is opening up another communication line with your community, and I think that's great. Now, when I take a look at their announcements, the first thing I noticed actually was how simple their announcements were. And what I do with a project that I'm evaluating is I actually scroll all the way back to the beginning announcements to see how did they start this Discord? How did they actually engage people, move? And you can see, for instance, okay, you've got like one of each emoji, but over time, you can see that the responses and the engagement between the community increases. And so I start to analyze, all right, well, how did they do that? How did they go from, nobody really responding in their community to suddenly loads of engagement and people just really engaging with the announcements? Now, what I did notice is with their announcements, they were, number one, easy to digest. It was like literally one-liners. So it was easy for the community members to just read it and get up to speed. But what I also noticed was that they really cared about the welfare of their community straight up. So they bought floor NFTs, and obviously there's going to be people that believe in this or they don't believe in this. But right from the start, they actually made sure that people that had invested into the project, they were taken care of. They understood that people do care about the floor. They didn't want their project to appear cheap. So they kept buying floor NFTs. They did a giveaway of mutants to those who minted the project. And I mean, I'm not a huge fan of giving away monetary items to people, because usually what happens is as soon as the money dries up, those people will be gone and you're left with no one in the community. But what I just noticed was the consistency of caring about the people in their community. They also gave future giveaways to members of the community that were willing to sweep the floor and just continue to ensure that the project was selling out really well. They also did something pretty crazy. They offered a Tesla giveaway. So clearly this project had money to begin with. And I know that there's a lot of people that may feel cynical because you need a ton of money to run a successful community. And that's really not true. You could start a community with $0 and build really strong relationships with people, build the right relationships with people, get the right word out there around your project. And you could do that all with $0 and your community could completely pop off. So I don't want to say that because you have money, you're able to foster this fake community engagement. But I think what they're staying true to is like how ridiculous it is almost. And what they actually did, which I think is important to point out, is they asked the community, hey, do you guys actually want a Tesla? Or do you want to share the funds with more people in the community instead? And I think that's just a really important aspect of building community in the Web3 space that I want to mention. When you have major decisions to make about your project, go and ask the community, what do they want? What do they think? What is their feedback on your major decisions? And that's truly Web3, because in the Web2 world, I guarantee you this did not happen. Another way to really increase engagement right at the start is to create this sense of curiosity and anticipation. Anticipation is huge for a community. So they'd already created swag very early on in the project, and they'd mentioned, this will be available soon for holders. And they've done this plenty of times throughout their project. Just create more anticipation. Anticipation is key. You want people to stay engaged, to actually go into the Discord and check out what's happening. And, if you want to see someone that's kind of king of anticipation, I think Gary Vee does a really good job of that. It's really interesting that Twitter actually suspended the God Hates NFTees account. They must have done something quite controversial for that to happen. But they were very vocal about it in their announcements, and they even created branding around that Peter was angry about it. And so I think they were very honest about it. It was very funny the way that they reacted, to be honest, to the Twitter, the Bluebird jail. And so any challenges that are being faced your way, you can choose to either think, oh gosh, our project is dead, or you can choose a different route as to how you're going to respond to just the challenges that your project will inevitably face. In terms of number of channels, they haven't done too badly. There is still a lot here that I've noticed wouldn't necessarily be used, and I think they could consolidate a lot of the channels. I am big on just making life better for your community members, and one of those ways is just by reducing the number of channels that they actually have to check all the time. And I think it actually creates anxiety to people when they see all of these white channels that are unread. Just keep that in mind. Like, how can you reduce the number of channels? And I think things like this, for instance, the welcome members, there could be a better way to do this, because I don't think people really go and look through this channel that much. It doesn't really tell me that much detail about who's joined the server. I don't really know anything about them, so keep that in mind. But their Discord is very true to their brand as well. They have this channel, for instance, called Paper Hands, and you may not agree with it, but they really do have this, I guess, community neighborhood police section where, you know, people that are paper handing their projects, they don't want them in the community. They want people that are truly in it for the long haul. And so it's almost like neighborhood police, where people can actually mention other people that are paper handing the project, and they're cut from whitelists, or they're removed from privileges that other loyal community members should receive. So yeah, I think that's been quite interesting. They're definitely a more controversial project, and I think because they're controversial, you also see that more people are engaged with the project, because it stands for something, you know, maybe a bit more extreme in the NFT world, but it resonates with a lot of people, and that is key when looking to engage with your community and keep them engaged. All right, lastly, we have DeGods. This is considered the #1 NFT community on Solana according to their website, but it actually is doing really, really well, this project. So let's take a look at what they're doing. This is a collab between 3 artists. They truly made original art instead of just using degenerative art. And you can see here that they said, we effed up, we made original art instead of a Bored Ape Yacht Club derivative. They have a whole section where you can read more about the art, and that was really interesting. They talked about how complicated it is to lay the art and to create truly beautiful art. So they actually spent a lot of time as artists working together to work out what were each of the artists' strengths, and then actually go ahead and create and deliver this truly unique art. I've seen more communities do this now, where if you buy the floor or you do something that's incredible for the community, then you can earn the community token. We're seeing that a lot more, but I think the actual concept of buying the floor, to be honest, I haven't seen many NFT communities offer tokens just because you buy the floor. And I think it's really interesting that you're earning royalties based on specific actions that would actually benefit the community. They do have clout. They have big names that actually hold their collection. So you've got the 2 co-founders of Solana, for instance, that hold the NFTs. You've got Ice Cube, the rapper who holds this NFT, and also the co-founders of Magic Eden, as well as many of the team at Magic Eden, which is a large marketplace that also hold their NFTs. So you can see that there's some big names here that are part of the project. And they've done some pretty crazy things. They bought a basketball team with the DAO funds. So I don't know any other project that's done that. They do mention that they're pretty worldwide, and that the only country that doesn't have the NFT is North Korea. I did do some digging. It doesn't really seem to be the case that North Korea is the only country, but I guess in the history of this project, that may be the case. Now let's take a look at branding. It's very similar to the Nounders. I did a video where I covered the Nouns project, so you can take a look at that. You can see that they actually call people that collaborate together within their community the DeGods Mafia. You can see here that they have 54 projects and the total market value 26, almost 27 mil here. So they're just showing what has the project actually achieved. And that is utility right there. If you join the community, number one, you've got some pretty heavy hitters that are part of the community here, but you've also able to collaborate and create really profitable projects and businesses yourself. Again, when looking at their roadmap, they're kind of taking this as a joke. And like we've seen with the previous projects mentioned, it seems like roadmaps are considered a bit of a joke at this point because you can say anything. They've mentioned here that it looks like a 5-year-old drew it. Where are all the words? But it's a different way of looking at your roadmap even. And they've got DeGods Week, for instance, where I'm assuming that would be like a community event, a bit like VCon. But I can really dig deeper into this and try to work out, what does the team have in mind? And it's just different. It's kind of funny as well. But yeah, I really appreciate the creativity here. Now, what I love about their Discord when I've gone into the Discord is it's very simple in terms of the start here. I can see that there's FAQ. I obviously needed to verify, but it's very, very clear around like what are the rules. I love the fact that there's a collab form that's public. So even if you don't have a NFT for their collection, you can still put in your interest to establish a collaboration with DeGods. You don't need to be sort of in before you do this. So they're keeping that very open. They've got the official links, they've got the announcements. They've done a really good job, I guess, of creating a very simple Discord where I can find the information very easily. I think the big thing for this project is that they've got heavy hitters that have invested in them right from the start. And if I look at their documentation, I actually think it's really interesting. They've got a lot more information about what they're planning to do in the project. And they've just looked at different concepts within Web3 differently. So they've done the analysis, for instance, on paper hands, and they want to actually give back to the community who doesn't paper hand or punish the paper hand. So I think it's really well done. You can dive deeper into this project and take a look at the unique ways that they're looking at Web3, but I think they've done a really good job of that. And the branding is on point. You've got the Divine Council, the D Alpha team. Everything is D something, and that's along with the DeGods. So that's very similar to projects like Nouns, which has done really well. So you can see a lot of similarities between projects that have been successful. There's 3 killer Web3 projects that have completely changed the game in the NFT market because they're doing really well during this bear market. They've still got a lot of engagement with their community. I'd say some of the key points to take away is they've all got unique branding. They're all invoking curiosity. They're also increasing anticipation around their project constantly, and they're engaging their members by creating different unique ways of engaging their members. So it's just, as a member that when you go back into their Discord, it's probably going to be something that you haven't seen before. Whereas with all the other, I guess you could call them the mainstream or average projects that are really struggling right now, that reason is because they're not really doing anything differently and they're still expecting the results of what the bull market had provided them. Making sure the utility is really clear from the start is also very important. And I've just noticed that with these 3 projects, they all have very unique personalities and they really deep dive into the humor. And I guess during the bear market, there's a lot of people that are just looking for relief from, the disasters of their portfolios, and providing that humor seems to be doing really well right now. If you've seen any amazing NFT projects and you want me to know about them, please feel free to comment below. I'm happy to take a look.